Hi everybody, my name's Owen. I'm Ron's brother, eldest brother. There's another member to our family, her name's Corinne, Ron's sister. And we've got parents Ron and Noreen Thomas. This video is just basically an update of where we are as far as Ron Health goes. At the moment, we're recording this on the 5th of June, just over 2 weeks since Ron's life completely changed. So the purpose also with this is to give you some ideas on what we can do to help them, a bit of an update where they are and how we got to where we are at the moment, and Ron with his health. The most exciting and best news is that Ron is still very much alive in a very serious condition. With a little bit of luck, in the next couple of days we'll be moving out of ICU. So we're all very excited about that, particularly when we thought we might lose him about a week ago. So before we sort of really get going, I just want to thank a couple of friends who helped me do this. My good friend George Docklis, who's behind the camera, and my other good friend Steve Pellegrino, who's going to help edit this down. He works for one of the major networks here in Australia, who will make this look a heck of a lot better than how I'm managing to get it done right now. But the most important thing I want to thank you is that you're friends of Ron and family of Ron. And the other person I want to thank a great deal right from the get-go is Ron's partner, Hannah. Without her, I don't know what we would have done. She's been absolutely tremendous. She not only had to carry the burden of dealing with Ron's situation, but also trying to keep us informed 10,000 miles away. So thank you very much, Hannah. We love you a lot. So, how did we get here? On the 21st of May, Ron and Julian, his business partner and another band member, and their band, the Dupes of Havoc, were in the south of France doing a gig, which is probably the third or fourth time they put it off, given the COVID crisis. They're having a good gig. Late into the gig, Ron bolted off stage, projectile vomiting into whatever the closest container he could find that was off stage, thinking that he'd somehow contracted food poisoning. They then proceeded back to England, driving at 60, 70 miles an hour, and Ron projectile vomiting outside the car as there was no way to get off the freeway. Ron went home, straight to bed. That night he woke up incredibly high fever, in significant pain, and Hannah insisted he go either get an ambulance or go to the hospital. Ron, 10 minutes later, after a bit of cajoling from Hannah, bolted out the door to the hospital, and an hour later was in the acute assessment unit of Kingston Hospital in Surrey. It wasn't food poisoning. It was something far more serious. Originally diagnosed kidney infection, sepsis, and a suspected ALM, which is a version of leukemia. They had to confirm that. Ron was obviously surrounded by a battery of IVs, blood transfusions, and a whole lot of other things, and then was succumbed to, or put through MRIs, bone marrow tests, all sorts of stuff in the next couple of days. All that time, we just were hoping that it wasn't leukemia. That wouldn't be confirmed till much later in the week. When we got to Friday, late Friday night, 2 o'clock in the morning my time, I got a text message from Hannah saying the plane flight which I'd organised to go on in about 4 or 5 days' time, she was suggesting I get on the plane right now. He was admitted into ICU. And at that point, there was a very serious consideration of putting him into an induced coma. It was a great shock. later that day we had to break the news to our parents. Up until then we'd sort of kept them a little bit into the dark. Both our parents are still alive and in their 90th year, to be correct. And last thing we need to do with Mum's health is to give her any undue shock. So they knew Ron was in hospital. We told them about the kidney infection and that he's had suspected food poisoning early in the week. That was where we left it, because we were concerned that it may not be what they diagnosed, and we hoped it wouldn't be. However, that was not the case. So on Saturday night, we had to break the news to my parents, and that's no easy matter, having to tell your mum and dad that their son not only has leukemia but is in a very serious situation, and we didn't even know whether he'd survive. I rang the hospital to get an update, and it was one of the most joyous conversations I've ever had, because they said he's now stable and would you like to talk to him. We were lucky it was just after Mum and Dad were told, about an hour and after they were told what the situation was. So it was nothing more joyous than hearing your brother's and son's voice on the other phone. Most of us were so shocked we couldn't actually say anything. So a big shout out to all the medical care team at Kingston Hospital. We're very grateful for all the work you did. So that's what happened. And this is where we are today. I spoke to him a day ago. He said he's the best he's felt in 5 days. He's been graciously fed, not by hospital food, as most of us know hospital food is not great, but graciously fed by the Lighthouse restaurant in Wimbledon. After supplying him with some I think it was pork belly the other day, and some steak and chips, some really good sustaining food. So now the interesting thing about Ron's life is that even though a lot of you know him, there'd be a lot of people who don't even know or have never heard him sing. You know he's a musician, you know that's how he makes his living, you know he must be pretty good at it. But for those people who have never actually seen Ron sing, what we might do is I'm going to get Steve to cut to a little bit of a highlights reel that they put together for their band, so you get a bit of a sense of who Ron is in the music world, and I'll come back and fill you in with a couple of things that we can actually do to help and support Ron. As you can see, Ron is a really special man. One of the most difficult things you can do, apart from telling your parents that their son and your brother is fighting for his life in the hospital on the other side of the world, is to tell his friends. There, not only do you get to tell one person, you have to tell the story over and over and over again. That's incredibly draining. That's half the reason we put this video together, to save us having to tell that story over and over and over again. Of course, in those phone calls, we've all been on the other end of that, when a friend or a colleague or parent or relative has rung us to tell us that someone that we know and love is now either no longer with us, or is fighting for their life, or some tragedy has befallen them, or somebody close in their family. Most of us at the end of those phone calls, of course, utter those wonderful words, hoping that we can actually do something, but knowing full well that most often than not we can't. Let me know if I can do anything. That's the phrase that comes out of our mouth. Often we feel somewhat hopeless about it. in talking with Hannah and whatever conversations I've managed to have with Ron about, particularly early in the week when some of those conversations were quite limited in nature, we've sort of worked out 3 things that you can do to help Ron. Now, the first thing what we've done is we've tried to at least have one hub where we can communicate at least some of the information or refer people to that then they can break on to other places. I know in the last week and a half I've spoken to people on Telegram, I've spoken to people on Messenger, I've spoken to people on just FaceTime, the normal phone call, would you believe, and then on top of that emails. So what we've done, we've created a website that's just about Ron and his recovery. And so what we're trying to do when we're trying to come up with a name of what we're going to call it, we wanted to make it simple, we wanted to make it memorable, but also we wanted to make it somewhat sort of inspirational, somewhat indicative of what Ron's personality is like, and also Ron's sort of sense of adventure and the values of he sees about life and the real and just the good things that he's about. So we've come up with a name, we've called it ronthomas.quest. Yes, you actually can get that extension to your business name if you want. So ronthomas.quest is the website. On that website, we want you to go there. The first thing you want to do when you go there is to register with your email address. We've all got so many different social media pipes that we connect with each other. But some groups only use WhatsApp, like it tends to be very much a UK based thing. There's less WhatsApp activity here in Australia. We tend to use Facebook and Messenger, again depending on the social groups you're in. So we thought if we just have one place that we can tell people to go to keep up with Ron, then we can have links there, whether it be Facebook or WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever, we can create those links on those sites. So if you can go there and register your email, we'll have your details. It's the one thing that all of us have. Now on that website, what we'll also do is we'll have a regular blog with updates that we can have how Ron's recovery and how his health is progressing. Now, that's not going to be us just contributing to that. If you've got some great stories that you want to tell us about what you've done with Ron and also what you're looking forward to doing with Ron down the track, if you've got some great photos, please share it with us. Even little anecdotes, anything that you know that you're either looking forward to do with Ron or something that you know from your past history. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Now, the best way you can do that is through that website, of course. Now that website is going to be brand new. There's going to be a lot of sort of problem links, problems with it. We're going to try and check everything, but there's a good chance it won't work. In every location, every link won't work. And if you find something that's not working, please email me. Now my email address is owen@owenthomas.com. That's owen@owenthomas.com. If you find something, you've got a suggestion of other things that you might be able to put on there, some things that I'm unaware of, even just a great personal story you want to tell me or Hannah or anybody else, just as a personal story, we'd love to hear it. And I know Ron would love to hear it and be able to read it. And all these things Ron's going to be able to see as well. So that's the first thing. The other thing that we're going to have on other things on that website is to have the story of a bit longer story of what happened. As far as I know, I'm sure Hannah will have other input into that story, as will Ron, because all of us live the experience through our own eyes. So that'll be on the website as well. We also want to have a page dedicated to Ron's music. Now, I know some of you have just seen some of Ron's music for the first time, but on this ronthomas.quest, there's also going to be a page dedicated to Ron's music. There's albums that you'll be able to download or places you can go to hear them play. You can buy some of them. We're trying to get that set up so you can do that, take Ron with you through iTunes or something equivalent. So that's what we're trying to do there. There's also a great concert, a link to a great concert, a full 1 hour concert that Ron did with Ross Simon Ross, one of his old mates, we did here in Australia at the start of COVID. We were lucky enough to have Ron was stuck here for 5 months. So Simon and Ron got together and did a live Facebook concert for, I think we ended up broadcasting to about 50 screens. So that would be, who knows, guessing how many people behind screens, somewhere between 3 and 4 or 5 or 6 people behind a screen, families and so forth. So maybe 200 people witnessed that. We were lucky enough to be able to capture that. Now, the quality of that is not fantastic. The sound's good, but we literally had to rush that one out at the day. It was none of those classic Ron and Simon moments that came to the rescue. Literally an hour before we were live to go to air on Facebook, some very smart technician, probably young and inexperienced, decided to take out most of the internet in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So we had no internet connection to broadcast from. So we relocated to another venue and basically got on the air 30 seconds before we were supposed to. So it's a little dark, but the music's good and their energy and passion is fantastic, and it will remind you of all the good things that you love about Ron and what we're looking forward to being able to experience down the track. So that link will be there, plus whatever else we can find. And also, if you've got stuff, some other footage that you've got that maybe we don't know about, if you can either let us know, we'd love to add that to that website links, whether it be a YouTube clip or whatever. We'll just want to add it to that page on that website so you can keep involved on it. So that's the website, that's the hub. That'll be continually updated. Hopefully we've captured up what that would be. So again, the first thing you can do to help Ron is to go there and register, put down your email, and that'll get you on the email list for updates for what's going on. Also, as we make changes to that website, we can inform you about what's going on. There's just far too many people in Ron's world for us to even know all of you. So I thank you for being a friend of my brother and caring for him so much to watch this. Now, the second thing you can do is there's a lot of people that you know that know Ron that we have no idea about. If you can, as a second step of the second way to help us, if you can pass this video around, tell them Ron's story, shoot this to them, and encourage them to at least have a look at the website and register as well so they can register their interest. That's the second thing you can do. Now, the third thing, I'm going to get to the third thing in a bit. So I'm going to take a break right now because my mouth's getting pretty dry. This is one of the probably the hardest videos and things I've had to do. I've spoken to thousands of people from stage, and this is probably one of the hardest things I've had to do in recent years. So I'm just going to take a break here. We're going to go and have a look at another clip from Ron, and then I'll be back for the third thing you can do to help us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you out there. Not that we can see you, but we can see the screen. We assume you're out there. We know you're out there somewhere.
We're going to be coming to you live on 15th of May. This reunion has been planned for many years.
How many years?
Putting Ross Thomas back together.
Putting the band back together, man!
Let's do it.
Oh, when I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember that film, and yes, I recall, I think we both kinda liked it, and I said, oh, well, that's the one thing we got.
Alright, see you on the 15th.
Well, that's the one thing we got.
Alright, see you on the 15th.
And well, welcome back. That was the Facebook promotion we did for the live streaming event that Ron and Simon did nearly 2 years ago. I urge you to go and check out the website, again, register, but on the music part of the menu, you can go there and you get a link to go to that full Facebook concert, and it's fantastic. I've gone and seen it a few times. Mind you, I tried to watch it when we were getting the bad news, and I wept for the first 5 minutes, and that was about all I could take. So, what's the third thing that you can do to help us? And you've probably guessed it already, and that's financial. The last 2 years have been tough for all of us. You're probably, like me, you sort of muddled your way through it and somehow cobbled together through, whether it be through some sort of government support, a little bit dipped into your savings and somehow made it through. And you're probably a little bit like me, slightly a bit worse for wear, but okay. Of course, there's the others. There's a few of us that have actually done incredibly well. I know those who've had some share portfolios and with a little bit of savvy smarts, and those who had property portfolios have also done pretty well, particularly if you've been here in Australia. I know I've got a long-term friend of mine who recently sold a property, I think, for a couple of $1 million more than what he would have sold it 2 years ago. So he's, again, done very well, but they're an exception. I've also know of a son of a client of mine who's just a labourer in the construction industry, and the construction industry in Australia kept going all the way through lockdowns, and he's got a significant problem where he made something close to $300,000 last year. His tax burden is significant, not bad for a 28-year-old. But, you know, most of us are probably like, you know, you and me, sort of somehow muddled the way through, and here we are. The unfortunate thing is the entertainment industry was the one industry that we didn't look after. Unlike at the start of the Second World War, when Churchill was asked to cut the budget of the arts, he said, we're not doing that because what else are we fighting for? Unfortunately, the various governments around the world, I know the one here in Australia and the one in England, didn't support the arts in anywhere near they should, because that's the thing that actually represents all of us. It touches our hearts. It's the things we do. It's the poems we say at our funerals. It's the things we do at our naming services. All those wonderful things. That's what the arts do for us, and yet for some reason we failed to look after them. And this problem, this acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, is a problem that you wouldn't wish on anybody, and we certainly haven't wished it on Ron, and this is the worst time to get it. On top of just starting to have a good year, I spoke to Ron about 2 months ago, and we were talking about how this year looked like it was going to progress. He said, I think it's going to be a good year. Now, I know my brother, I know he's a bit of a hustler. He'll make something work if he can. He'll probably could have turned what was going to be a good year into a pretty good year. Not the best year of all time, but a good year. And that was what he was looking at. But of course, the music industry, particularly the live music industry, is very much a seasonal based thing. It starts in late spring, summer, early autumn, then you get a bit of a splash around Christmas time, and that's where you make most of your money. And it's the same here. Ron's about to enter in the period when the music industry, you actually make most of your money this time of the year. So effectively, if you look at the last 3 years, Ron hasn't seen any decent income coming to his home and his family since 2019. So COVID's used up all his reserves, everything that he had backed up, all the spare tyres, and of course anything that you had that you wanted to cut down in your expenses, you were cutting down, all that sort of stuff right from the get-go. So no spare tyres, no nothing. So we're going to ask for your financial help. I don't really care how much it is. Some of us, as I said, have done very well, some haven't. So what we've done on the website, we've also set up a GoFundMe page. Now that may not or may not end up being the best way to raise some money for Ron and his family, but that's where we're starting. And if you've got some better ideas, feel free to email me that at owenthomas.com. That's owen@owenthomas.com. I'm sure Steve will stick that across the bottom on this as well to make it work. But that's what we're doing. So now I know for some of us, £50, $50, £100, $100 can be a lot of money. For others, £500, £1,000 might be what we spend on the weekend. So whatever you're able to give, Ron, will be much appreciated. It'll ease the burden. You and I all know that there's nothing like financial stress to destroy anything, let alone your health. And Ron's in a precarious position where any stresses are to be discouraged. And we're looking to do whatever we can do to help Ron minimise that stress and take care of him for the next while, whatever that may be. Now, I've set a target on the GoFundMe site. We think £20,000 is a great place to start. Whether that's enough, I don't know. We might adjust it. It might be too much. But whatever it is, that's what we've set down. So we want to want your help and support. So go to ronthomas.quest, that's the website. Go there, click on the donation or GoFundMe link, whichever I have on there by the time we get to complete that part of the process of making this thing. But have a look on there, and whatever you can give will be much appreciated. I know for some people $5-10 is a lot. Whatever you do is fantastic. So just in wrapping up, what can you do? We just want to thank you very much for all the help that you're willing to give so far. It might have been a phone call, it might have been a YouTube thing that you've sent through as a bit of a motivational thing to Ron. It might have just been a little text message. It may be this is the first time you're hearing the whole thing, so feel free to send him a message or send it via me, and we're happy to pass it on, or Hannah, or any other contacts that you've got. We're very appreciative of anything that you do. So the other people want to thank, I personally want to thank Hannah for all the trauma she had to go through, not only to look after Ron but also to get the information through to us. Her mum Rachel, Saoirse of course, and our love goes to little Holly. And Ron's also got spectacular neighbours in Steve and Inca Marie. Again, thanks for all the help. It's the last minute looking after Holly and so forth, and we love you both as well. We also want to do a bit of a shout out to the Lighthouse Restaurant in Wimbledon. We all know hospital food is not all what it's cracked up to be, and Ron loves his food, as you know, and they've been organising, I think it is 2 meals a day to be shot off to Ron, and I think last time I spoke he was enjoying pork belly, I think, and he had a steak, I think, the night before. And we all know good nutrition is important for any sort of health recovery. So a big shout out to the Lighthouse Restaurant in Wimbledon. I've been there. I'll be looking forward to coming there in a couple of weeks when I'm over to visit Ron. And I'm sure Corinne will go there as well while she's there. So if you've ever got the opportunity and you're in London and you need to go somewhere to eat and you're close to the Wimbledon Village, make sure you go to the Lighthouse Restaurant in Wimbledon. So guys, big shout out. There's probably a lot of the people. I know Julian, Ron's partner in the business. He'll be taking a big workload. So again, thanks Jules, much appreciated. And the two guys helped me put together. So just wrap up, this is what you can do to help Ron and help his family. First thing, go to the website, ronthomas.quest. Go there, register with your email. That will give us the best way to communicate with you, and there'll be a whole lot of other resources on that website you can use. The second thing you can do, share this video around. I've probably stumbled and all that sort of stuff on the way through, but in the end, that's what you do when you're having to do these sort of things. You do the best you can, and that's all we can ask of anybody. And the third thing is, again, go there, check out the GoFundMe website and donate whatever you feel is appropriate. There's an anonymous way to do it, so no one has to know what you give, whether it's a lot or a little. No one really cares. And even if you can't do anything at all, if it's just too much for a stretch, the fact you're caring enough to watch this is more than enough. So we appreciate that. I'm just going to hand over to my mum and dad, just going to wrap over just a little bit, and I'll come back and close just at the end. They just want to thank you for all your efforts.
I'm very grateful to everybody who's come to lend a hand, give Ronnie some support. He's our youngest son, half our age, and when we heard this terrible news of what he's got, we couldn't believe it. I was absolutely devastated, and I still am. So thank you everybody for everything that you might be doing for Ronnie.
I agree with Noreen, my wife. I couldn't say much on the night that Owen dropped the bombshell regarding Ron's illness. And I thought of my younger brother who died of leukemia, and I thought, is this in the family line? And it took my breath away, literally. So Ron was just getting back on his feet after all the coronavirus situation in the UK, not getting much government assistance like we have here in Australia. And things were looking rosy for him and his band, the Dukes of Havoc. And this thing has come out of the blue, completely unannounced and unwarranted. He now is looking at a very serious future. How long he has to live, none of us know. We just keep our fingers crossed for the treatment that he'll receive in the UK. We know they'll do their best, and we'll just keep hanging on to that promise.
And thank you anybody who was praying for us and our family.
Yes, I agree with Noreen. Thank you so much. Ron's facing a very, very difficult future. Financially, he's desperate. I know that because I see his finances every week. And those of you who are able to give him some financial support during this very difficult time, we deeply, deeply appreciate any support you can give Ron and his family of Hannah and his little 2.5-year-old daughter, Holly, and his stepdaughter, Saocise. We're grateful that they're there with him and they'll be supportive of him. But it's the larger area, the larger community that is part of Ron's life that's so vital to his existence at this time. So to each and every one who is able to contribute, my deepest heartfelt thank you. And also from Noreen, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, thanks guys. It's thanks for listening to me for probably the last sort of 20-25 minutes, however long it's going to cut down to. You've probably done it because you love Ron as much as we do. So thanks again. Go to the website, register your email address, that'll enable us to keep in contact with you. And let's see what happens over the next few months. And we're all hoping and praying that that's Ron's recovery. Talk to you soon.